Good evening, Southeast Texas. Hope you're doing well as we take an in-depth look at the next 7 days. Some things I'm not usually able to show you because of the time constraints, but we've got 15 minutes to look at this and a lot more detail for Southeast Texas. Otherwise, looks pretty quiet across our area right now. We were thinking a little better chance of rain and thunderstorm activity would develop, but just not materializing out there right now. So it looks like a pretty quiet night here locally, but can't rule out isolated to widely scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two through, say, the rest of this week and this weekend. Looks like low chances as high pressure begins to kind of build on in by Friday and Saturday. Typical summertime stuff. If you grew up here like I did, you know that it was 20 to 30% coverage, partly cloudy skies, highs lower 90s, lows in the mid 70s, growing up here in the 70s and 80s. Otherwise, rain chances go up, we think, on Monday and Tuesday of next week because the high that is going to move over our area, or at least closer to our area, Friday and Saturday begins moving off towards the north and east, and they could really see some heat up that way over towards New York City. If you're an allergy sufferer, well, the mold is much lower than yesterday. Yesterday we were at very high readings. We're back down to moderate levels, just a little bit of weed pollen showing up and no tree pollen or grass pollen. So pretty good looking allergy report today. So tomorrow, we're looking at, we'll go with partly cloudy skies, maybe a 20% coverage of afternoon showers, maybe a thunderstorm here in Beaumont. We'll go with highs in the lower 90s. And again, as you can see, modeling is showing a 10 to 20% coverage, and that seems very reasonable under partly cloudy skies coming up tomorrow. So I agree with this model. For the lakes area, it's about 92, maybe 93. And again, it takes a while for the sea breeze to really start activating or developing. So it looks like maybe Hardin County on off towards the north, we'll see the best rain chances. We'll go with a 30% coverage. Going to be kind of breezy coming up tomorrow afternoon. And again, about 92, 93 up that way. And I'm going to go a little bit higher than what modeling shows, about a 20 to 30% coverage coming up tomorrow, barring any surprises. But that's the way Wednesday looks across Southeast Texas. So right now, things are pretty quiet. Remember all the widespread flash flooding that we saw here in the triangle? That trough of low pressure that brought us the shower and thunderstorm activity is pushed on off towards the east, over towards Louisiana, and that's where all the activity is occurring. So it's pretty quiet over in our neck of the woods, with temperatures currently in the mid to upper 80s to around 90 degrees, and that heat index, again, triple digits. That's what we're going to do again tomorrow. So it's going to be a hot day tomorrow, but we're not expecting any records. We have done this before. So the big picture showing the trough of low pressure off towards our east now, and it's basically right there. So that was over our area yesterday, and look at where all the shower and thunderstorm activity is off towards our east. What we are seeing, a little bit of a development of shower and thunderstorm activity along the dry line, but high pressure is over the southwestern U.S., and it's going to be working this way and building over the state. As you can see, the high off towards our west. I'll give you a better look at that in just a second. But again, there's a trough of low pressure, and if you look at the winds, they're out of the northwest over our area in the upper levels, and more out of the southwest here. So this is the trough of low pressure that brought us the shower and thunderstorm activity. There's the trough right there. So it has moved quickly off to the east, taking with it all the shower and thunderstorm activity. So yeah, we're seeing very isolated activity today, but nothing like what we saw yesterday across our neck of the woods. So taking a look at high-res modeling tonight, 10% coverage the next couple of hours, but not even seeing that on radar right now. So the model is obviously not doing the best of jobs. So we'll go with mainly dry weather conditions. Temperatures tonight not going to fall off that much. We think winds will be up, and that could keep low temperatures here in the triangle into the upper 70s to lower 80s around the triangle, maybe the mid 70s up in the lakes area. Tomorrow, though, with skies becoming partly cloudy and high temperatures in the lower 90s, again, can't rule out a 10, maybe 20% coverage in the triangle. But again, as we said yesterday, we thought there would be a better chance just north of I-10, Hardin County, southern Jasper and southern Newton counties, like what we were seeing yesterday at this time. And very little chance up in the lakes, maybe a 20% coverage there. So basically what we're saying is low rain chances are expected tomorrow, and it looks like that's going to be the case right on through the weekend. So again, there's the trough of low pressure that has moved off towards the east, and as you can see, it has continued to move off towards the east, and that is taking the shower and thunderstorm activity away from our area. There's the high, and that is what is building in and will build in from the west as we work on into Friday and Saturday. So we'll put this into motion. This trough goes bye-bye, and watch how this high moves up towards the Arklatex as we work on into Friday and Saturday. So that closest approach means we'll probably get up into the lower 90s here in the triangle, maybe a 92 here or there. Here in Beaumont, and closer to the mid-90s up in the lakes area. So then, as we work on, that's Friday and Saturday, so it's going to be probably the hottest and driest over the next 7 days on Friday and Saturday. Then the high really strengthens and heads towards New York City, and that's where they could see high temperatures around maybe 104 as we head towards, say, Sunday. And then, again, remember with high pressure, the flow around the high is in a clockwise fashion. So the winds do something like this. Remember, clockwise fashion, and that is why we're going to be watching an easterly flow here in southeast Texas. So any moisture, any disturbances will be directed from the east into southeast Texas as we work on into Monday and Tuesday of next week. Looking at the wind fields, there may be kind of an inverted trough. Let me go back to that. Maybe an inverted trough over in the Gulf, but nothing to be concerned about as far as tropically speaking. That's more of just bringing us a chance of shower and thunderstorm activity. Let me try that again because it's important to show you that that is what we're seeing right there. That coupled with the flow out of the east, this green is moisture. Now, just because you have a surge, like we're seeing here on Monday, Tuesday, a surge of moisture does not guarantee you rainfall. You need something to set it off. It just gives you more to work with and the more opportunity to produce shower and thunderstorm activity. If you got dry air, as I've said many times before, at 10,000 feet, you can forget it as far as shower and thunderstorm activity. So we're thinking maybe this inverted trough and possibly a weak sea breeze. Now these winds are at 18,000 feet, but at the surface, they'll be out of the south and southeast. So that may set the stage for a weak sea breeze coming up. That's why I'm not going to go above a 30 to 40% coverage. I'm not going to go with high amounts of rainfall. Now we could see that, and that's certainly possible. And this also means that there could be some heavy rainfall early next week. Otherwise, in the tropics, again, we do not worry. It's not this time of year. We do not worry about the far eastern Atlantic. That's not something that we focus on. We watch the Gulf, obviously, for close-in development off the southeast coast and over into the Caribbean. We do not worry about the Pacific because those storms are not going to be an issue as far as winds or anything like that for our area. They can direct moisture our way, but I don't see that right now. What I do see is absolutely nothing through at least the next 10, possibly 14 days of quiet weather in the tropical southwestern Atlantic basin. And that means that would take us on into the first few days of July, believe it or not. Golly, this week is going, or this month, this year is going quickly. So again, on into early July, I don't see anything on any ensemble modeling. Now, some deterministic models do show some development trying to develop into the Gulf, but we just do not buy it because that is not shown on its ensemble. So I'm throwing a lot of jargon at you, but basically it means that it's going to be quiet in the tropics for at least the next 7 to 10 days. So on the Gulf tomorrow, with the trough of low pressure moving through, let's see, Oklahoma back over towards Iowa, that will elevate winds tomorrow. So we could see some winds at 15 to 20 on the Gulf, maybe decreasing in the afternoon. So that's going to stir up the seas a bit. So slightly choppy to choppy seas expected tomorrow. Water temperature down to 87 because of all the rain. Otherwise, high tides tomorrow at Sabine Pass if you're going fishing at 9:59 a.m. and 10:35 p.m. Sunrise 6:13 a.m. Sunset at 8:19. So our forecast tonight as we drop that logo, please and thank you. We're looking at skies becoming mostly clear, maybe a shower here the next couple of hours, but generally looking at mostly clear skies, mid-70s lakes and into the probably the mid to upper 70s to around 80 degrees in spots here in the triangle as those winds stay a little elevated tonight. That's why we're not going to cool off, if you will. Plus, we've got high dew points, which means that there's a lot of moisture in the air. When you have more moisture in the air, that holds the morning low temperatures up. So again, this is the wettest I could possibly go with. It probably will be less than what we think here. 10, 20% coverage here in the triangle tomorrow afternoon, 20, maybe 30% coverage in the lakes area. Yes, I do give you a little bit of a range because weather isn't an exact science, and some models are showing a 30% coverage, others show a dry day. So somewhere between a 20 to 30% coverage is what we're expecting, mainly north of the triangle. High temperatures up in the lakes area, lower 90s, closer to 89, 90, maybe 91 here in the triangle tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, we think the winds going to be a little elevated tomorrow, nothing we haven't done before. Could see some wind gusts around 20 miles an hour, and that's because of a trough of low pressure that is moving through, say, Iowa back over towards southern Oklahoma, and that trough of low pressure strengthens the southerly winds off the Gulf. So a little breezy coming up tomorrow. That's why we're not going to go at 91 tomorrow. But the heat index, oh my, if you work out for a living, outside for a living, keep hydrated, take breaks, you know the drill, and it's nothing new. But we do expect heat indices to be around 100 degrees coming up tomorrow. Otherwise, your 7-day weather impact forecast calls for maybe 30% coverage. Can't go any more than that on, say, Juneteenth. We'll go with a 30% coverage. And then with that high moving in closer to our area, making its closest approach towards the Arklatex Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday, just a 20% coverage at most. High temperatures around 91 here in Beaumont, probably about 94, 95 up in the lakes under partly cloudy skies. Then, as I showed, that high moves away from the Arklatex and heads towards New York City, and the flow around it brings in a surge of moisture off the Gulf. And that means a low end scattering with south to southeast winds. That's not great sea breeze wind direction. So we will not go above a 30% coverage, 30 to 40% coverage. Modeling is a lot wetter than that. Let me show you in just a second. But first, a little talk about the rainfall. Yeah, we're doing okay on rainfall, obviously. Through the next 5 days, this takes us through Sunday. Every day we should pick up a quarter of an inch of rainfall, and modeling does not show that. It shows below normal rainfall through Sunday, okay? Then it does pick it up as we head on into Monday or Tuesday of next week. But if you take a quarter of an inch and multiply it by 7, you should have about 1.7 or so inches of rainfall. 175 is what we should pick up over the next 7 days, and modeling just does not show that. So even though the rains do increase in coverage coming up on Monday and Tuesday, they do not look very heavy at this time. So that's your 7-day forecast. Let me show you what the Euro is showing. I always like the Euro because it does a pretty good job. It looks like tomorrow very little chance of rain, and I'm just not buying this widespread shower and thunderstorm activity on Thursday, which is Juneteenth. I'm just not going to go with that. We are discounting this. Euro has a real bad tendency to go with too much rainfall. It does a good job of placement. It's just that I think it's too much. And look at that. Friday, okay, a 20% coverage. Again, this is subjective. 20% coverage Saturday. Sunday, maybe a 20% coverage. Monday, look at that. I can't go with that. It's just too